to the very first episode of Walking the Path of Love podcast. I'm your host, Charlyn Anandamai Reihman. I am an emissary for love in the world, and I am so glad that you are here. Walking the Path of Love is a way of living where love is the foundation of every thought and action. Living love. Before we jump in, let's take a moment to arrive together. Place hands gently on heart, one on top of the other. Soften your gaze. Maybe allow the eyes to close, to flutter closed if that feels comfortable for you. And take a nice, slow, deep breath through your nose. And then exhale a gentle breath out your mouth. A few more of those long, deep inhales and an exhale in any way that feels natural for you, a sigh or any exhale. Feel your body held by the gentle pull of gravity. Feel supported. Feel your spine lengthen and the crown of your head reach up to the stars. Feel expansive. Bring awareness to your heart. Notice the space around your heart, above and below the heart, softening in front and behind, side to side. Take a few breaths into the space of your heart and allow the heart to soften and expand. Feel the rhythm of your heart. Notice what is alive in your heart as we begin. What is your heart's message to you today? Holding that noticing in your awareness, allow your eyes to open and come back to this place. What I notice in my heart today is deep gratitude for the practices that open the door to an opened heart. I spent a good portion of my life living from a place of shoulds. My days were largely driven by to-do lists. I worried a lot about what other people would think about my choices and my actions. I constantly felt that I wasn't doing enough. I felt that I was not enough. I was living life in a very willful way, even though to most people, my life seemed like a good life. I had two amazing children, a beautiful home, a very good job, and I still hit a low point in my life. I hit bottom, as they say. I felt uncertainty around continuing to live life. Things felt dark and difficult and somewhat hopeless, like there was no way out. I didn't recognize myself when I looked in a mirror. Who had I become? Things started to shift when I gazed into my own eyes, when I allowed myself to rest during Shavasana at the end of a yoga practice, when I felt full, deep breaths in my body, and when I felt my feet in the green grass. I realized what my soul was calling for was a shift in my life, an uncovering, a softening, a returning to my heart. When I started to shift my perspective to listening to my heart, everything shifted. My relationships, my job, every part of my life began to change. When I was guided to live my life from a place of love, I felt an expansiveness and a sense of oneness and connection. I felt a trusting as I explored teachings and practices. Walking the path of love has become a practice for me, and it's a way of life. It's a living each day in the flow of love and grace. It's listening deeply to my inner knowing. It's trusting my wisdom. It's shining my light brightly. My life has become filled to the brim with synchronicity and a sense of being held. I feel compassion for myself and for others. Living from a place of love can change our lives and it can change the world. When I am a beacon of love in the world, when I am in a state of connection and pure love, that is my gift to the world. Living from a place of love can change our lives and it can change the world. When I am a beacon of love in the world, when I am in the state of connection and pure love, that is my gift to the world. And it's not always easy. It's difficult. It's challenging. It requires devotion and dedication to my higher self. Through this shift in my life, I was guided to explore the practices around a life centered in love and to write a book on the practices that bring us to a place of living from love. I had a very rough draft of the book and I entrusted it to an author friend, and he gave me some very potent suggestions. He said that the book needed my stories. Wow. He said what connects us is our stories. I sure did not want to share my stories because I thought no one really wanted to hear about that. And sharing felt so extremely vulnerable. I reluctantly took his advice, and over the next few years, I started to comb through my life for the stories that resonated with the key principles and practices that I grew to love. The stories of compassion and truth and struggle and peace, self-observation. I incorporated the stories into the book and magic happened. The book came to life. It became accessible and heart-centered. It wasn't a book just about ancient teachings and somewhat esoteric concepts and how to bring these into our lives. It was a book about living love and the devotional practices to allow life to unfold. Once the book was published, I received such sweet feedback. And that feedback is often connected with resonating with the stories in the book, my stories and the teaching stories. This podcast is rooted in a simple truth from that discovery, the truth that connection is one of the keys to transformation. Transformation often happens in community, and the ability to live from a place of love is rooted in connection. Connection to each other, connection to our hearts, connection to oneness. Through our stories, we come to know ourselves and each other more deeply. When we listen and share honestly, something shifts. We feel less alone. We remember our connections. This path for me is deeply rooted in the Kripalu lineage. Swami Kripalu, also known as Babaji, was a teacher, a poet, a devoted practitioner of yoga and meditation who described himself as a pilgrim on the path of love. He traveled from India to the United States in 1977 to visit his disciples for what was originally planned as a very short visit. While he was in the States, he lived at the Kripalu Ashram, or the Residential Yoga Center, which was then in Sumneytown, Pennsylvania. And he lived here for 4.25 years. He lived in a small cottage nestled in the trees on a quiet hillside in the heart of the ashram. The cottage is called Muktidam, which means abode of liberation. It was here that Babaji did his 10-hour per day practice, and he reached the highest stages of yoga. During this time, he shared wisdom and joy and deep love in stories and in song. Swami Kripalu returned to India in 1981 and shortly after left his body. His teachings have influenced my life and have created in me a sense of devotion to the path of love. His teachings continue to inspire a way of living that is grounded in compassion, in self-awareness, in deep listening, and in joy. Babaji taught and embodied a way of being that radiated love. Some of our guests will share stories from their transformational time spent with Swami Kripalu and from their experience with the lineage. This space isn't only about one lineage. This podcast is dedicated to that spirit. and to all those who choose to make love a central part of their lives. It's about the many ways we come back to love through different traditions, different experiences, different practices, and different stories. As I listen deeply to the stories of those on the path of love, I notice a sense of mystery, of grace, of trust, and faith. Please know that you have a story to be told and shared and cherished. Tell your story. Have the courage to speak your truth, to know that your story is precious and perfect. Telling stories is a privilege, and I believe an obligation. Telling your story can open the door to others to believe, to have courage, and to take the next step on the path of love. Some days are easier than others. Some days I feel light and run, taking one step after the other, smooth and easy. And some days I fall, I freeze, I have a strong feeling to pause. What allows me to eventually take the next steps? Presence, practice, devotion, connection, listening. Your story, my story, the stories we carry and the ones we choose to share. Stories connect us. They help us feel seen. They give us a language for which we've lived. And sometimes they give us permission to live more fully and to feel less alone. And that's why we are here together to create. In each episode, I'll be joined by brilliant guests who are willing to share their truth, their challenges, their aha moments, their insights. These conversations are real, honest, and accessible. We'll explore themes like compassion, service, truth, struggle, connection, self-love, family, consciousness, prana, life force, and self-observation, not as abstract ideas, but as lived experiences, as practices. Because this path is not about perfection. It's about practice. It's about showing up. It's about experiments. It's about being willing to learn again and again how to live with an open heart. I don't believe we're meant to walk this life alone. What helps us to take the next step is knowing someone is there to listen, to understand, and sometimes simply to walk beside us. Together, we will find miracles and synchronicities around each corner. We'll connect deeply to ourselves and to each other, and we will learn to move with grace and ease and faith through all life has to offer. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're searching, healing, questioning, or simply curious, you are welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with your heart. Let's walk this path of love together. Thank you.